The Empathecary Podcast is a Mindgarden Media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions. It seems like we've done this before, the very first podcast. Haven't we done a first podcast before someplace?
We may have done that somewhere in the past. It sounds familiar. Very familiar to me, Todd.
Well, it is a new podcast for Sandy and Todd. Of course, your hosts on the Sandy and Toddcast. But we're starting something new, keeping the old, but bringing in something a little fresh. This is called the Empathecary Podcast. It is a podcast for folks like Sandy and I who find themselves in this world as empaths and trying to find our way through and figure out how we deal with certain things. And hopefully it's going to be a place where we can share our experiences and we can hear some of our listeners' experiences as well.
I think that a lot of empaths go through life not really understanding that they are an empath. A lot of people throw the word empath out there just because they love animals or they love nature or they cry during movies. But there's really a big difference. And that's not to take away from people's empathy at all. Empathy is an amazing, wonderful thing. But there is a difference. And it's really important, I think, for people to know the difference, Todd, because when you learn, you kind of start your journey as an empath.
Right. That changes everything at that point. When the veil is first lifted and you go, okay, well, now the door is wide open. Now I'm seeing what's going on here. I thought this would be kind of interesting. I have the definition of empathy right here in front of me. Empathy is the capacity to understand or feel what another person is experiencing from within their frame of reference. So the capacity to place yourself in another person's situation. That is empathy.
Yeah, sort of a relatability.
Exactly.
If you're sad for some reason, let's say your pet passed away. I've had a pet who passed away. My frame of experience can match yours. It's totally relatable, and I feel bad for you.
Right. That is, in a nutshell, that is what empathy is. Now, empath is someone who feels more empathy than the average person. They're usually more acute in recognizing emotions by looking at another person's face. They're also more likely to recognize emotions earlier than other people. And also, the emotions are more intense. They actually take on the emotions of the people that they're having the experience with. So in your reference, like you said, you've been through some of the same things I have. You can put yourself in my place and understand. An empath is somebody who's actually kind of dealing with it through your emotions, the other person's emotions. That's how you're kind of taking it in. So similar, but different.
Yeah, totally. And I think a lot of my life, I grew up feeling that I had empathy. And it wasn't until maybe a handful of years ago that I discovered that I truly was an empath. And one of the things along my journey that I've discovered was in meeting you, a fellow empath with a connection that's on many different levels, but how we as two empaths interact with each other. That's been a journey too, a discovery.
And not always a fun one. I mean, let's be honest about it.
Not at all.
It hasn't always been a fun one. So, and I think the other thing that happens is people say, well, I'm an empath. And in all actuality, they just have a lot of empathy for other people. And they're like you said earlier, nothing wrong with that. So Empathecary plays on the old apothecary, which was where people would go to get their drugs and their mixtures and for their ailments and all that kind of stuff. It basically was like the Walgreens of the day.
Sure.
And so I thought, well, if we could take that mentality of trying to make it a better situation and not necessarily use some hocus pocus on it, but be able to devise ways that we can all kind of learn a little bit about ourselves. We could call the podcast the Empathecary and have some fun with it. So that's really what this is about.
Yeah.
And we've got the other podcast, which is fun and we love it. We're going to continue doing the Sandy and Toddcast.
Yep.
But this is really here to feed my soul, and I hope yours as well.
Mine too. I think this is a great way for us. I don't know if healing is the right word, but sort of, I guess it is a right word. People tend to, not all people, but some people tend to throw the word empath around as if it's like this fun thing to be recognized for all the time. And, I'm special, I'm different, I'm an empath. But it's not easy. And it's something that is very emotionally difficult, physically difficult, and intellectually difficult. And so my hope is that by you and I doing this podcast, the Empathecary, not only can we help other people understand some of the different facets of being an empath, but it's sort of a healing for us as well. And it's part of our journey to learn and understand from different angles what an empath truly is and how to manage it. And it's also good for people who may not be an empath, but who have an empath in their lives so that they can understand what that person or people actually deal with on a daily basis.
I think it's kind of funny because you also have two very different empaths here. You've got someone in Sandy who just to a certain degree, just loves that she's an empath, really gets into it. She gets into the whole medium thing, which just goes way beyond being an empath. And then there's me, very reluctant empath. If there's anything that I could change about my life, it'd probably be to get rid of that. And that's only come about in the last couple of years. Once I realized why I was feeling what I was feeling and going through what I was going through, I realized that I needed to try and control it. And so I've had to put up these very big walls and barriers in my life to try and police who gets in and who doesn't get in, and who affects me and who doesn't affect me, while still trying to help people who need the guidance as a true, decent empath would. It's kind of been hell for me.
I know. And I don't want to say that I absolutely love it and I embrace it fully and we'll talk about our own personal experiences as the episodes of the podcast go on, but it is so extremely difficult at times that I have had to, and I've learned a lot from you, I have had to learn how to manage it and block it. And as much as I love helping people, helping animals, helping nature, there has to be some sort of wall and there has to be some sort of management, because if you just let it go, I grew up not only from the medium side of everything, but from the empath side of everything, just sometimes being depressed, feeling like I was crazy, feeling isolated and alone. And I didn't understand why. And that's such an important thing to understand. When I realized I was an empath, the light bulb went on over my head. It was such a relief. And I've learned a lot from you in how to start to manage it. I'm not great at it. It's always a journey, but I've learned so much from you.
So that is what the Empathecary podcast is really going to be about. It's the journey of an empath. My journey is different from Sandy's journey, is different from every other empath. So we're not going to sit here and say we've got all the answers, because we don't. But we want to be able to share some information about what we've gone through, and hopefully we'll have some listeners who share theirs. I want to leave everybody on our first podcast in our demo version here with five typical traits of an empath. Okay?
Okay.
Number one, empaths are highly sensitive. Makes a lot of sense, right?
Definitely.
Number two, empaths absorb other people's emotions. Happens all the time. I can't even go to the store without it happening.
And we'll talk about that, because there's so many different layers of energy and different types of energy. There are days when there's nothing bad going on in my life, but yet I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Yeah, and you'll be like, why do I feel this way? And I'm like, I can only guess. Number three, many empaths are introverted. Hello.
Hello.
Empaths are highly intuitive. That is something that definitely hits home with me.
Yes.
And this one too. Empaths need alone time. But I've also realized that too much alone time is not good for an empath either.
No,
there's got to be a balance. And for me, I can't have a ton of people around. I don't want that. Couple people once in a while, or couple people, and then some alone time is perfect for me.
it's important to schedule, and we'll talk about this more, but it's really important to schedule or allow yourself a little bit of time by yourself and a little bit of time with the people that you love.
Yeah. So that's what this podcast is all about. It's about being, it's about understanding, it's about knowing more about who you are or that special person in your life who's an empath, knowing more about them so that we can all kind of get through this journey together. That is the Empathecary Podcast, and Sandy and I both invite you to tag along with us along the way. I don't know how often we'll have a podcast. It probably will not be as often as the Sandy and Toddcast.
Yeah.
But when we feel like it, we're going to do one.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this, Todd, because it was a great idea. I know you laugh when I say you were brilliant. You were absolutely brilliant.
I don't laugh at that because I know I am. So I realize that about myself.
I really think it's time. I think it was time for us to start the Sandy and Toddcast. It was truly time for us to start the Empathecary Podcast.
Well, you'll be able to find us here and all the other places that you find your podcast very, very soon. And eventually we'll have a Facebook page and all that kind of stuff. But for now, you can follow us on the Sandy and Toddcast on Facebook as well. Until our very next Empathecary Podcast. Bye.
Bye.